Hello, my name is Jeremy, and this is the True Crime Chronicles channel. Today, I'll tell you about a case that shook Argentina. On Sunday, September 15th, 2019, two fishermen were carrying out their daily work near the breakwaters of the Neuquén province in Argentina. On that day, they approached the Lime River. They were very calm until they saw something that left them speechless. In the water floated the remains of a young girl's body, specifically limbs and a skull. Concerned, the fishermen decided to call the authorities, who quickly arrived at the scene. Officers immediately recalled Laura Lopez, a young girl from the town of Platier, who had disappeared less than 3 days before. However, her body was unrecognizable. They couldn't be sure it was her, so the police continued to survey the area, trying to find any clues to establish the victim's identity. Not far away in the same river, they found a completely torn fabric bag, leggings, and underwear. The girl had not only been murdered, but had clearly been subjected to sexual assault. Upon discovering the clothing, the police called Laura's relatives and asked if they could recognize it. The officers were unaware that during the investigation, it would be revealed that the method of the crime was even more horrific than what they had initially discovered. Laura Lopez was born on November 11, 2000, in the city of Platier, Argentina. Her older sisters, Melissa and Damaris, who were 18 years old at the time of her birth, adored her immensely from the very first day. When Laura was only 3 years old, her mother passed away, and all 3 siblings were left in the care of their father. Although the father initially worked hard to support the family, he succumbed to alcoholism after a few years. Despite all the hardships she faced, Laura was a very sweet and affectionate child. That's why her sisters started calling her Cielo, a nickname by which everyone who knew her referred to her. Years later, the girl's father lost his job, and they had to look for additional work. At the age of 18, Cielo started selling fried pastries during the day. Then, in the evening, she attended high school, and in her free time from studies, she took care of her nieces and nephews. She was very close to completing school and dreamed of finding a good job to restore financial stability to her family. Unfortunately, something happened that prevented this from occurring. On September 12, 2019, Cielo spent the entire day with Damaris, drinking her mate tea while Damaris tidied up the house. Her sister joked that, for the first time in her life, she had managed to make the tea well. It was a happy day. Later, Cielo went to school, where her classmates noticed something unusual about her. She sat not in her usual place but at the back of the class and left 20 minutes before the end of the lesson. Around 11:30 p.m., Cielo returned home and met up with a friend. They spent some time chatting, having a few drinks, and taking selfies for social media. At 3:00 a.m. they said their goodbyes, and Cielo mentioned that she was very tired and planned to go to sleep. The next day, Melissa sent her a message asking if she had been to the doctor for ear problems, but she didn't receive a response. Worried, Melissa called Damaris to find out if Cielo was with her, and that's when concern gripped Cielo's sisters. She was nowhere to be found, and her phone was turned off. As several hours passed without any sign of her, they decided to contact the police. At the police station, they were told that they needed to wait 48 hours from the last time they saw Cielo before filing a missing person report. The officers suggested that she might be with a boyfriend, as it was supposedly a common occurrence for teenagers. However, Saturday came, and Cielo showed no signs of life. It was only then that the police accepted the report and initiated a search. Unfortunately, by that time, it was already too late. On Sunday the 15th, 2 fishermen were working in the breakwater area of the Lime River, just 15 kilometers from Cielo's home in Platier. They were completely calm until they saw something that took their breath away. Parts of a young girl's body, specifically limbs and a skull, were floating in the water. They quickly reported this to the authorities. Upon arrival, the first thing the officers noticed was the excessive brutality inflicted on the body. It was evident that the person responsible knew how to handle knives. Detectives continued to scour the area, trying to find any clues that could help identify the victim. Nearby in the same river, a completely torn fabric bag, leggings, and underwear were found. Continuing their search, they discovered 2 rings. Eventually, officers investigated the riverbed, where they found a knife with traces of blood. They soon called Cielo's family. As soon as Damaris arrived at the scene, she saw the clothing and, without a moment's hesitation, confirmed that it belonged to her sister. Downstream from where the fishermen accidentally found Laura Lopez's limbs and skull in the Lime River, firefighters discovered the body of a young woman around 11:30 this Monday. It had already been handed over to the Forensic Expert Corps for analysis. The autopsy was conducted by Dr. Carlos Gordillo. He determined that the cause of death was a severe head injury, resulting in internal bleeding in the brain. This was caused by a blow to the back of the head, causing her to lose consciousness. Cielo was in agony for 2 to 4 hours. If she had received medical attention, she could have survived. In addition, bruises on her arms were found, indicating that she had been beaten and had struggled in an attempt to escape her assailant. The forensic expert confirmed the fears of Cielo's sisters. Intimate injuries were discovered on her body, indicating sexual assault. Furthermore, he noted that the distinctive signs of cuts on her neck, arms, and legs suggested that the perpetrator used common kitchen knives. This meant that the assailant lacked medical or anatomical knowledge, further widening the list of suspects. Detectives had no clue about who could have committed this heinous crime. Analyzing Cielo's mobile phone location, they discovered that after 3:00 a.m. on Friday, a man named Alfredo Emilio Escobar had been in contact with her. He was 28 years old and worked as a mechanic. Many years ago, he attended the same high school as Cielo and enjoyed hunting and fishing, making his ability to handle a knife plausible. The distance between his home and the girl's home was 2.5 kilometers or 20 blocks, facilitating a strong signal reception with the antennas. At 3:16, 3:22, 3:36, and 3:40 a.m. on September 13th, the girl received 4 calls from this man. By that time, the antennas determined that they were both at their respective homes. Afterward, both mobile phones were activated near the girl's house. From 4:29 a.m., Cielo's phone moved toward the city center and was at Escobar's house by 5:00 a.m. The girl uploaded a WhatsApp story with an alien emoji, and her phone was still located at the man's house. At 5:52 a.m., the girl's mobile phone stopped transmitting a signal. After that, no one heard anything from her. These records also showed that Escobar turned off his mobile phone until 11:05 p.m. the next day. During this time, the phone was detected by an antenna in China Muerta, where Cielo's remains were later found. On September 15th at 12:05 p.m., Escobar returned home. Video footage from 13 surveillance cameras, including city cameras, private homes, and stores, was also analyzed. In particular, recordings from the early morning of September 13th showed 2 individuals whose appearance resembled that of Cielo and Escobar. The timing coincided with the movement of the young girl's mobile phone. There was no doubt that Escobar was the sole suspect in this case. During the investigation, one of the agents recognized this man. He remembered that a year earlier they had encountered him on Highway 22, connecting the cities of Neuquén and Plotier. The young man had crashed into a patrol car while traveling at a speed of over 80 kilometers per hour. He resisted arrest, and a case was filed against him. Escobar was very close to facing court for that incident, but now the charges were entirely different and much more serious. On September 17th at 8:30 a.m., approximately 30 meters from Escobar's house, a police patrol was on duty. They observed a Fiat Ducato minibus approaching, from which a young man resembling the suspect stepped out. Based on his build, facial features, and hairstyle, the police immediately recognized him. He entered the house and later emerged in the company of 2 adults around 60 years old. All 3 got into a car, heading towards Highway 22 without arousing suspicion. The police followed the car for some time and noticed that it stopped in a wilderness area, approximately 30 meters from a bridge connecting Neuquén to Cipolletti. At that moment, Escobar and the elderly man got out of the car. The police approached to request identification. Escobar was in the company of his father and another man, and his mother was in the car. It was clear that they were attempting to leave the city. The young man did not resist the procedure but was visibly nervous. Soon, Escobar was taken to the police station, and his car was confiscated. He then underwent a medical examination. The results of the examination showed swelling on the knuckles of the fingers of his right hand, consistent with punching. Additionally, he had cuts on his finger and bruising on the palm of his right hand, sustained several days earlier on the same day Cielo died. Based on these findings, Escobar was officially charged with the rape and murder of the girl. He invoked his right to remain silent and was remanded in custody for 6 months, as there was concern that he might flee or obstruct the investigation. On September 1st, the first search warrant was executed at the house on Estrada Street, where the Escobar family lived. The property was spacious, with a construction site and 2 buildings at the rear. When officers entered the room where Escobar slept, they found fingerprints on the walls. Upon checking them with luminol, bloodstains were revealed. Officers also discovered a cloth with bloodstains during the search. They then proceeded to the structure behind the house, where the situation worsened. Among the crumpled vegetation, bloodstains were found. Blood was also visible on the gates, on the right handle of a cart, and on one end of a tool. It was evident that the blow that caused Cielo's death was inflicted precisely in this location. After discovering bloodstains at the search site, investigators took samples for comparison with the blood of the girl and Escobar. They also conducted DNA analysis of the fluid found on Cielo's body. Escobar's lawyer argued that accusations of rape should not be made until the results were obtained. However, the results were obtained relatively quickly. The Central Laboratory of the Ministry of Health compared the samples taken during the search with the genetic profiles of the victim and the accused, and all matched. Sneakers worn by Escobar at the time of arrest and a knife found at the bottom of the river were also analyzed. DNA matching Cielo was found on both items. Subsequently, 3 swabs were taken from the intimate parts of the victim's body. One of them was compatible with Escobar's DNA. Thus, investigators could already assert that this individual had sexually assaulted the girl, then killed her, dismembered her, and disposed of the body. On September 21st, law enforcement authorities confirmed the information at a press conference. The prosecutor in the case, Juan Agustin Garcia, stated that he suspected Escobar of killing Cielo to conceal the rape, and added that, if found guilty of this charge, he could face a life sentence. Despite this, additional evidence was still needed. Escobar did not plead guilty, but technology played a crucial role in exposing him. His mobile phone was confiscated by court order, and he had to provide the access code for examination. It was revealed that although Cielo was among his contacts, he had deleted her on the night of her disappearance. He also got rid of the call history made to the victim but did not delete their social media conversations. During the investigation, it was also discovered that on September 11th, 12, and 13, the suspect accessed the social network to view photos posted by Cielo. Despite all the evidence, Escobar continued to deny his guilt. However, all the evidence pointed to him being responsible for the murder. Finally, a hypothesis emerged about what happened on the night of the crime. On Thursday, September 12, 2019, Cielo left school around 8 in the evening. After spending some time with a friend, she mentioned that she was tired and would go to sleep. At 3:40 in the morning, she received a message from Escobar, and they started chatting. Despite not being friends, she agreed to meet him, and they went to his house. What happened inside the house remained a mystery. However, the examination results suggest that Cielo resisted any intimate contact with Escobar, and in anger, he assaulted her sexually. Then, fearing that she might report him to the police, he decided to end her life. Leading her to the backyard, he struck her head twice. Cielo was still alive, and then Escobar acted brutally, hiding her body for several hours. He also turned off his phone to avoid drawing attention. Cielo's body lay in the shed for almost a day, and she succumbed to the injuries. Eventually, Escobar dismembered the body with a sharp knife he kept in his kitchen. He then placed the body parts in his Fiat Ducato minibus and drove 15 kilometers to the area of the breakwaters. Upon returning to the scene, he turned his phone back on, feeling relieved and thinking that it was all over. The story of this case has become a matter of public concern for the entire city. Neuquén has expressed strong condemnation of the accused. However, the most impactful statement came from the 23-year-old younger sister of Escobar. She posted a message on her social media addressing both her brother and the victim. The publication received mixed reactions. Some expressed sympathy, while others accused her of complicity. Faced with these attacks, the girl asked not to lose focus on the main issue, Cielo and her family. In turn, Melissa contacted Escobar's sister, thanked her for the message, and requested people to stop attacking the girl since she is not guilty of anything. Without further delay, the legal proceedings against the criminal commenced. The first court session took place in the Legislative Assembly of the province. The prosecutor in New Ken accused Escobar of bearing full responsibility for his actions. The charges included the murder of the girl with the use of gender violence, as well as rape. During the same hearing, experts who participated in the analysis of the clothing found in the river along with the remains and evidence discovered in the man's house gave their testimonies. However, the most startling revelation came from Florencia, Cielo's best friend. She revealed that for several months, Escobar had been sending messages to the victim, inviting her to spend time together and have a drink. But they had never met. From her perspective, she had known him for 5 years and was aware that he didn't have a very good reputation. Escobar's house had been a venue for parties every weekend for a long time. The house was filled with alcohol and psychoactive substances. Couples even engaged in intimate relationships openly. Florencia also stated that she had repeatedly advised her friend not to date Escobar, and the girl always responded that she wouldn't and that she ignored his messages. However, the defense asked why she hadn't recommended blocking Escobar's number. Florencia replied that it was her friend's decision, and she didn't want to dictate what to do with her life. While the girl was on the stand, they showed her surveillance camera footage taken on the day of Cielo's disappearance. In particular, they showed her a recording from a camera at 4 a.m., showing 2 people walking towards the city center. Florencia unhesitatingly admitted that it was Cielo. She said that her sneakers, jacket, and way of walking were unmistakable. The girl also identified Escobar. Escobar's impulsive behavior became evident when his friend testified against him, stating that he was a womanizer and suffered from substance abuse. In court, his former partner also took the stand. She recounted that their relationship ended on bad terms many years ago. She reported him to the police as she suspected him of breaking into her house and stealing money. When she went to ask him to return the money, he hit her friend who was with her. After reviewing the testimonies, the accused tried to justify himself. Escobar pointed to his friend, who sold him illegal substances, as the true perpetrator of the crime. "That night, I was high. I admit I'm guilty of cleaning up the blood, of disposing of it. But I didn't kill her," he told local media. He claimed that he was under the influence of drugs that night, and that this person was in his house with Cielo. At some point, Escobar heard a scream coming from one of the rooms and rushed to see what had happened. Upon seeing the blood, he began to clean it up. He then helped his friend hide the body. At the end of his story, he thanked them for giving him the opportunity to tell his supposed truth. However, no evidence was found, and this statement was not corroborated. Escobar remained the only suspect. In his closing statement, the prosecutor argued that this man took advantage of the fact that they were somewhat acquainted with the victim and betrayed her trust. He planned the cruelty of his actions and the gruesome way of disposing of the body. The jury deliberation lasted only 40 minutes, and Alfredo Emilio Escobar was unanimously found guilty of the rape and murder of 18-year-old Laura Cielo Lopez. The latter charge was aggravated by the fact that it was committed to conceal the assault and involved gender violence. For these reasons, he was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. Since then, the government of the province of New Ken has enacted the Cielo Lopez Law, aimed at preventing violence against women. It mandates mandatory training on gender violence for students and teachers of all ages. Fortunately, he did not go unpunished, and a life sentence gives us peace of mind in society and the family, but it does not bring the victim back to life, said Marcelo Henriksen Velasco, the local attorney for the family. Here ends this horrifying story. If it seemed interesting to you, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Also, don't forget to share your opinion in the comments. This was Jeremy with you. See you in the next video.